Great to see some familiar faces. You're joining us for another of our career success events. This is a series of events where design mentors come together to provide tips and insights into the how-tos and what should I do's of building and navigating a successful career. And today we're going to be diving into identifying your personal motivations and, more importantly, how to stay motivated through life's ups and downs. But first, let me introduce myself and tell you a little bit about our wonderful community. My name is Ying Yao. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a lead UX designer at Barris. In my off hours, I'm a design mentor here on ADPList, as well as the co-organizer for Ladies That UX Atlanta. ADPList is a global community for making genuine connections, a platform where people can find, book, and meet mentors from all around the world. So our mission is to foster an inclusive space and support network for designers to come together, to learn from each other, strive to be better. So if you haven't had a chance to check more of our community out, we're always rolling out cool new initiatives and features. Head over to adplist.org after this event. Always proud to share our community milestones and how much we grow over the months and the years. Since ADPList started, we now have over 4,700 mentors on the platform, which has been leading to over 50,000 one-on-one sessions, hosted over 600 events tackling a variety of topics, including today's. And a lot of these events are also recorded and shared on our YouTube channel too. So lots of goodies for you all. So with our platform touching over 70 countries, we're very proud of the global impact we've had on connecting everyone together. Some event guidelines, some house rules for this event. This will be recorded and available on the YouTube channel, as I mentioned. We have, for Q&A later on in the event, we have a Pigeonhole link. So you can use that to submit your questions for our speakers, but also you can vote on your favorite ones that you would like them to tackle. Of course, this is a supportive environment, so no hate speech, no discriminatory behavior. And as is our tradition, we will do a group selfie in just a moment. And finally, we always love to hear what piece of lesson or takeaway impacted you the most. So please share your takeaways with us on social media by tagging at ADPList and using the hashtag AmazingTogether. With that, it is our group selfie time. So I will hand it over to Mashope for us to click on the camera button. And in that time, bring your most wonderful smiley smiles or your frowniest frowns, whatever emotion, bring your favorite item into the frame. My dog's in a different room, so I can't reach for that right now, but I've seen some really interesting like desktop items that people like to bring in frames. So give you a moment for that. And then Mashope, let us know when you're ready.
Exactly. Awesome. Yes. Thank you so much for everyone turning me the cameras. If you have something like, showcase it, I have my water bottle here so I can hold that, but I'll be going through the clicks.
A water bottle.
But yeah, I'll be going through the clicks for the screen, like, taking the picture. So please hold that pose while I go there. Thanks for turning your cameras. So I'm on this first screen now. Please hold that pose in 3, 2, 1, and awesome. Thank you. I'll be going through the next screen now. 3, 2, 1, and I'll go through the final screen and done. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you so much. Okay, with that, let's start rolling into why we're here, the topic for tonight. So motivation drives people to do different things every day, but knowing what works for each person can be the difference between success and failure. Not only knowing what works, but also staying motivated isn't always an easy task, as it's not uncommon to run into difficult, bumpy patches in your life that require extra motivation to like push through. So knowing how to approach these situations can help positively with your personal and work life. So our speakers, Chris and Sarah, will teach us how they stay inspired over and over again. So Chris Becker is a senior UX design consultant at Better, and Sarah Heimeyer is a lead service designer at Prospa. And also today's format is going to be super fun. Sarah and Chris are going to lead a short interactive workshop with us to help identify our personal motivations. And then afterwards, share their own personal advice and tips on how to stay inspired and motivated. And then at the end, we will do our Q&A, audience Q&A, as we always do. So when you see that Pigeonhole link in the chat, that's your opportunity to submit a question to our speakers. With that, I will hand it over to Chris and Sarah to share maybe a little bit more about themselves and what we should be expecting to get ourselves into today in a little bit.
Yeah, that's great. I'll go. Hi, I'm Chris Becker. I'm in the Los Angeles area. I've been living here for 15 years. I grew up in the Denver area in Colorado. And today's talk is really about processes for staying motivated. We're going to do an interactive workshop where half of the team is going to go with Sarah to kind of talk about some stuff in intrinsic motivations, and I'll take extrinsic motivations. We're going to do a concept map as a huge group using FigJam. If you've never used it before, I'll give you a quick little overview, and then we'll each kind of talk about our individual paths. I'll be talking about some stuff to stay inspired, and it should be pretty fun. It's lively. Put questions in the chat, raise your hand. This is not meant for you to just sit back and kind of listen to us yammer on for an hour. So I'm excited to kind of get everyone going. So that's me. And Sarah, I'll hand it to you.
Yeah, so as has been said a few times, I'm Sarah. I'm lead service designer at Prospa, and a little bit about me. I love doing some drawing. I love some watercolors, and I also do love some good improv. It's some of my favorite little things. I just love doing all these creative things in my life, in all aspects, in work and also personal. And what else can I tell you? I'm also in Sydney at the moment. It's quite sunny, which is for the last week, which is just such a treat because the last couple of months it's been pouring rain.
Going into the warmer months. And also I feel like you mentioning improv and general creativity, that sounds like you're already giving us some answers on how to stay motivated and inspired. So thank you for a little bit of a spoiler. Would either of you be interested in sharing your screen and kind of walking the audience through on what the workshop is going to look like before we all jump into it?
Yes, absolutely. Let me share my screen. I'm going to drop a link in the chat to a FigJam that I want everyone to sort of join. We'll give you a little bit of time to kind of get in here, but I'm going to share my screen and sort of walk through sort of what we're going to be doing here. And let me share my screen here. One participant at a time. Share desktop. Okay. So in FigJam, if you're not familiar with it, it's totally fine. This is really just an open whiteboarding space. We're going to come in here. If you're new to this, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a group mind mapping concept map. So we're going to break into two breakout rooms. Half are you going to stay with me and half are you going to go with Sarah. And what I want you all to do is you're going to drag out Post-it notes. You don't need to. You can change the color any way you want through a color selector here, but essentially you're going to drag out your name. It'll include your name in the Post-it note, and then we'll be adding some concepts. Once we get a little bit into adding some stuff, we're going to be piling in and writing and drawing in here, and then you can also say hi, and you can do some things with some outputs. And then after a little bit into our creating of this stuff, we'll also use the stamp tool, and you can sort of like, if you see somebody who wrote an idea that you were thinking about, or they already added it, you can either delete yours and +1 theirs, or you can sort of apply yourself in that. We're going to have a number of people in here sort of doing that. So here's a little bit of instructions if you've never sort of done that before in a concept map. As I said, you'll follow this green line down here, and we have a space for us to sort of get going. Sarah's going to take the left side, which is intrinsic values, and I'll be taking extrinsic, and we'll then see what we've come up with what motivates us and how that sorts of comes together. If you have a question, let me know. And then Sarah, as I said, we'll be breaking into 2 breakout rooms to do that. We're going to spend around 15 minutes doing this, and then we'll come back and talk about it for about 5 minutes, and then we'll break into our individual kind of talks on our subjects. So
Yeah. So total 15-minute interaction workshop. What was I going to say? Yes, 15 minutes. I'll be timekeeper. And then, so we'll all be on the same FigJam board. We'll just be kind of in a different room talking about the same FigJam board, and then we'll all come back again in the same room. So in a moment, you're going to, half of you are going to see a prompt to enter into Sarah's room. I'm effectively dividing the attendees in half. And so from there, once you enter in, we will start the workshop. So get your, let's see. Oop, me sign. Okay, I think, all right, this should work. And then Sarah, if you see a prompt, ignore it, of course. I mean, if Chris sees a prompt, ignore it. Okay, good. So awesome. You're seeing people join. Excellent. It worked. Chris, it worked. Okay. We're good. All right, you can get started then, Chris. I'll hand it to you. Oh, you're on mute.
thing. Yes. All right, everyone. So we're going to be over here in this right side in the extrinsic relationship. And so extrinsic, if you're not familiar with some of the motivations, there's sort of two paths of this. We're going to be doing the motivations that are driven by external rewards. So just drag out a Post-it note. You can see I've sort of started ones like, oh, grades, or like a good meal, or whatever. And start dragging out whatever you have a thought. What I'll be here is the sort of prompt. Move some things that are in similar categories together, and then if somebody writes something that you have already, you can either +1 it with the stamp tool or do some other stuff, and we'll start organizing these, drawing some lines, structuring it a little bit. Does that anybody any questions? Okay, good. I think we see some people starting like an apartment to live in, so like housing, great. That can be an apartment. I'm going to drag out a top level for housing. And I like that you've made your type big. If you're following me, you can make your type bigger by just increasing the size in your output. And I like that Melva has already started that. So these are sort of connected. We'll sort of just drag things in a little order. Industry rewards, somebody +1 me, a promotion. Okay, promotion has to do with money. Does somebody else have money in here? Clothes, food, travel, good. Great. There's the promotion. Okay, I'm gonna move the promotions over here, and money's I'm gonna add a money tag. And then promotions associated with money. Great. Yep, we got great. This is what we do, right? They group together. Promotions associated with that. We have clothes, self-purpose. That's I would argue that one's maybe intrinsic, but we'll leave it for now. And if we need to drag some stuff over into that as we need, but we'll start putting some things. Financial stability, that's also money related. Sorry, I'm dragging your thing right as you're writing it, Teresa. And spending time with family, activities, hobbies, yep. Praise and recognition. Food, recognition. This is industry awards. Housing, places to live. Are you familiar with what is his name? I'll think of it a second. But the essential needs. You made the triangle. Maslow. There it is. Yeah. Thank you. The hierarchy of needs, right? It was like it's security, housing, comfort, love, community. Some of those that sort of go together in this. Public recognition is also industry recognition and industry rewards. More of a network. Many awards, hobbies, activities, peers of praise and recognition. Food, vacation, yep. Now remember, the extrinsic are things that are sort of tangible. So that can be even be like, you know, a watch, or like a new car. Here, I'll add that one. A new car. Anybody want a new car? New car.
Wait, Chris, we have
Sort of
about 9 minutes left.
related to money, right, or whatever. Oops, somebody dragged it out. Hobbies. I like, yeah, okay, vacations and travel. Leisure time. Here's network and people. Close is sort of, oops, I didn't mean to drag that thing. Close has a +1 on it, and I'm going to put that over. Sometimes they're just giving you giving things space that are associated under their category. And you can see these are connected. I don't know if you're making things that are related, but we will maybe even draw some lines around this stuff and sort of apply it. If you haven't used a stamp or seen things that you're sort of knowing, you can use them over here. And there's a number that you can use, like a star. If you're questioning one, you could put that on there. Good. I like there's a lot of people want to eat good food. They want furniture, which is also related to their housing. And sorry, I'm like dragging Liz's stuff as she was like writing that out, but that's how it works. Okay, early retirement. Yeah, that's sort of associated with leisure time. Contribute to the society. That can maybe be associated under awards. Oops. All right. Good. Anybody have jewelry? Okay. I'm gonna start drawing some lines around things just so we get like it's starting to gather a little bit of, okay, new house is over here with housing. New car, a Tesla, yep. Here, I'm gonna +1 your Tesla over here. Give it a star. Networking, spending time with family, good events.
Chris, we have about 5 minutes left.
About 5 minutes left. Great. Okay. With the last 5 minutes, what we're gonna do is okay, there's livability, yep, extrinsic values, these things are really great. As sort of let's just sort of drag things to their association, and then we can sort of like put a line, like if you want to help, you can grab a pencil out. I'm gonna do this with a red line. Actually, I'll do it with a black line just because it makes it a little easier. And I'm gonna whoop, boop, 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 doop, doop, line. Okay. Yep. Industry awards, money and promotions. If other things fit inside this line, that's fine. Cars. Ooh, pets. Nice. I guess that's associated with hobbies. I don't know if that was purposeful or not, but here's some stuff that is not as connected. family. Over here. Hobbies, good. Activities and events. Leisure time, vacation, travel. Okay. And then education, grades. These are, and it's okay if you just have like one post-it note. You don't need, a million of them together, but we can sort of have ways to establish these things. All right. Line. Hobbies and events. Retirement. Retire my parents. Ooh, that's sort of in between spending time with family and retiring. Okay. Great grades. Education is grades related. Courses. Good. Okay. We can see we've I think we're starting to cover good ground with what we have here for our groupings. Yep, networking, and I'll do this just for the sake of it. And now we've sort of covered all of our bases. Is there any last ones that you want to do? You haven't voted for something and you see something you do, let's take just the last couple of minutes just to do some voting. Grab out your stamp tool and you could do a +1 or a star or thumbs up or a heart, whatever you want to sort of do in that space to say like, oh yeah, I think this is there's like lots of people think that an intrinsic value is money. Like I do this just to, because I get more money. More money may lead to more ability to travel. So some of these things are all interconnected. Contributed to society. Peace of mind. That one's good.
About 2 more minutes.
Except peace of mind, I think may actually be over in intrinsic, but we'll talk about that. That one can straddle. I'm going to straddle the line there on that one, because you could have money, which gives you peace of mind, which is a motivation. All right, everyone. Let's see what's going on. Okay, good. I just took a sneak peek at the other team just to see if they were doing what we were doing, and we are on par.
Chris, we ready to bring people back in?
We can. Everybody done? I think whatever you give a thumb. You could. Another cool thing is you can use these smile faces, and it just says it just like does some love. If you're ready to get out of here, we can do some love. Yep. All right. We see a lot of love and some fire. This is, if you ask me, I think Fig Jam has one in the sort of, it makes it a little bit more fun space. Ramiro's very business-like. Fig Jam was about adding some fun. So, but yes, we can head back to the main room and we'll kind of review this to see what the other team made as well.
Yep, they should be joining us back in about 30 seconds.
Great. Yeah, get some love in there. I like the fire. This is fire. I'm burning money.
People going crazy with the stickers. I love it.
I like some people found some tape.
Yeah.
They're fixing the lines. They're fixing my lines. I didn't draw it right. They patched it up. There's a good patch right there. I like it.
Excellent. All right. I believe everyone has joined us back. Welcome back. It was wild watching everybody go crazy, not only writing out their motivations on sticky notes, but exploring the stickers and the stamps too, and making it really personal. So I really enjoyed that. Sarah, I hope you you had a solid group going on there.
We did. Everyone who's more experienced at Figma was going at it. We had lots of stickers everywhere. So thank you, everyone.
So what we'll do really quickly, we've all sort of collectively come together to like figure out some stuff that had to do with motivations, right? And what I'll do is I'll cover my side really quickly, and then I'll hand it over to Sarah to sort of review some of the stuff that their side sort of created, and then Sarah will jump into her talk, and we'll then skip it back to me. So some of the things that our team sort of related, again, if you're not familiar with extrinsic motivations, these are things associated with external rewards, things like money, like we all sort of a promotion that was pretty quickly to come up. Then there was things like, oh, well, money might get you a new car, it might allow you to travel, it may allow you to do more networking or have activities like hobbies and events. There's things like it gives you a place to live. We sort of talked a little bit about Maslow's hierarchy of needs and how the things of money sort of and extrinsic motivations sort of lead to that. And then those things like, oh, well, I want to be like recognized by society or by public recognition, whether it's rewards. And a lot of it has to do with things that allow you time, right? Time to retire, time to go do stuff, time to travel, time to go and spend time with what you've sort of earned, right? And the motivations there kind of are connected. Like, you don't just like, you need money to buy a house, or you need a house to make it livable. You need a location to find a community, and you need travel at which to know whether you have been able to relate that in your promotion or whatever those things that kind of lead to that. So that was what we sort of learned. And you can see there's lots of plus ones and lots of things sort of aligning with our team and what we've created. So how about your side? I'll stop sharing and you can sort of show your side.
Awesome. So I'll just press some buttons. Oh, yay. So here we go. So we had a bunch of everyone on in our breakout room was super fantastic at helping group stuff. They put these little fancy boards behind it as well.
Nice.
So we had, we're intrinsic. So here's the little definition. So it's more the internal in terms of what internally motivates you to basically like do things and like do some of the goals that you have or work towards something or to like complete an action. And so some of the elements that we had were around like family and relationships. So being able to like grow those or like helping out the family. I really love this one, which is to show my daughter she can follow her dreams, which I just thought was beautiful.
Yeah, some of these made me cry.
I know. I was like, stop it.
The extrinsic ones, I was like, yeah, Newt says like, that's right, go for it. And then reading some of the intrinsic ones are like, my heart is melting.
Yes, completely. That's what I was like. So it was super wonderful, all of these ones. And then some of them around like social impact, like creating love, relationships, purpose, like meeting our purpose or like always learning. Or I love this one, like just for fun, like just for funsies to make life interesting and to keep going.
Hell yeah.
As well, we went wild on the stickers and the extra fancy stickers, as they're obviously called. And so the other area that we had was around personal growth and development. So being able to basically like grow yourself, having career growth, or like personally being able to reach those goals that you internally have, or as well just generally out of curiosity to just see what happens when you do it. Yeah,
I love that. Good mix of like, long-term goals and values and striving for it, but also like fun for fun's sake too is very rewarding too. So I'm glad that was also called out as like just as important.
Yeah, you can see there's a bunch of stickies there. So what I might do is thank you all for kind of engaging in a quick workshop. I'll switch to my other screen, and hopefully the Zoom gods are with us and I can do things. Oh yay, I did it. And what I wanted to do was, just swap over and do a bit of a quick talk and kind of take you through some stories that I have and some of the things that I use to help myself stay motivated, because, life's hard sometimes. And so being able to engage and stay motivated is always important. And so I wanted to start off with a bit of a story, and it might seem like it's not like that in Sydney, but a couple of weeks ago there was a lot of rain in Sydney, and it's cleared up now, although there had been record rainfall for just basically the last couple of months, and it was only November for this time of year, and it doesn't normally rain that much here. And so normally I'll go for like a bunch of walks, although I hadn't really been doing that too much, because I was just like, I don't want to go in the rain, I don't want to get wet, this is just terrible. And it got to a point where I was like, no, it's going to stop raining soon, I'll go for my walk tomorrow. And then the next day it would be bucketing down in rain. And I have gumboots, but like, you know, I sometimes just don't want to get out in the rain. And I just didn't want to but I still wanted to get moving. I wanted to do it, get out of the house, go do something, but I just didn't feel like it. And as we kind of explored, there might be some things that you want to do, but you just don't feel like it in your career, in your personal life. And the thing is that it might just be that this magical ingredient, which is motivation, just isn't there. And one of the things that I like to believe is that action can create motivation. And so you get motivated through doing, and to feel like doing something, you have to do something, which is kind of like this sad equation that's kind of annoying, that you need to do the action to get the action and to get the motivation to do it. Because sometimes you're just not going to be magically motivated. And so I might just go on to before I go into all the things, I'm just going to go on to my next slide, which is just a bit of intro. So we've already kind of done our intro. I'm Sarah Heimeyer, if you joined a bit late. I'm lead service designer at Prosper, where I design things. And today I'm really excited to take you through what are 3 ways that I have that I use to basically get that motivation flowing and to get going and to reach a lot of my goals. And as I'm talking, I'd love for you to either share in the chat or even just think about some of the areas or goals that you're working towards, even towards the end of the year, or even just generally. Like they might be long-term goals, there might be some of the short-term goals, but just think about those and potentially share in the chat if you feel comfortable. And so one of the key methods that I use to stay motivated is to give myself this countdown to launch. And so if you've read any of Mel Robbins' work, this is a great concept from her. And she also has a book, which is called the 5-second rule. And so what happens is you have the thought of the thing that you need to do, and then you count down. So you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you just launch into it and you do the action. And it's all about motivation being an action and a feeling, and giving yourself a countdown and then just launching into that action. And so to be able to get back into walking and going on little walkies after work, which is what I like to call them, is how it's happened for me. Is I've see it either been in bed, or I've finished a long day of work and I'm just like, oh, I don't want to do that. And I'm kind of arguing with myself and I'm going, no, like, I don't need to do that. I can just stay here. I'll just watch Netflix, or I'll just play on my phone. And then I kind of catch that thought and I go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then I just basically go and I do it and catch myself in that thought. And so the next time that you're umming and ahhing and you're leaning towards that easy choice, remember that you have an easy life. You have a hard life if you choose the easy choice. Whereas if you choose the hard choices, I always find that you have a much easier life, and it's less of a struggle because you're going towards those hard things and then they actually become easier. And so when you're on that podium, swinging backwards and forwards, give yourself a countdown and then just launch yourself like a rocket ship into that action. And then the second point that I always love to use, the second tip that I have, is to make your actions small and imperfect. And so it doesn't matter if what you do is bad, just do something. And you need to kind of develop that being comfortable with accepting imperfect action, because it's where you learn and grow and you get stuff done. And by doing this, you're able to get yourself inspired and to start doing just anything, and to be able to grow and learn and to actually see yourself progressing towards those goals. And when I really don't want to go for a walk, I tell myself, oh, I'll just go for a 10-minute walk. I'll just do a little bit and then I'll just come straight home. I'll just get my feet soaking wet. I'll get my runners wet and I'll just go for a quick 10-minute walk and I'll come home, or I'll just go to the cafe for a little bit and then I'll come straight home. And what I love to do as well is not to beat myself up. What I do is I don't beat myself up for not going to the gym or going for a walk or a really long one. I celebrate that I actually went out and I got some movement for the day and encourage myself. And I love to do this. So as I shared at the start, some of the things that I love to do as well is drawing or watercolor. And so I love to do this with that is just doing a really small drawing, even if it's terrible. But I also do love terrible drawings. They're my favorite. I feel like any drawing isn't terrible. It's just like an expression of yourself because it's just super fun. But I encourage myself to go like, oh, this is like the best piece of work. Like, look, I've like actually made a drawing. Even if it's literally a stick figure, just like doing something random, I just encourage myself to be like, I am fantastic. It's one of my favorite catchphrases. And so I love to do that towards my goals as well. And so how you can also apply this as well is when it is a big task, break it down into really small actions so you can work towards doing it. And not just your goals, but also your health. Not just goals about your health, but also like any steps that you can take towards any other goal. And so I always love to think about like, yeah, what steps can I take to reach my goal right now? And then also celebrate those actions rather than being disappointed and being like, oh, I didn't do it. Celebrate what you did do. Even if it's like a really small action, I still think it's quite great. And you can't go from 0 to hero in one day. It's always about that incremental, like 1% action towards your goals or what you're working towards in terms of any area of life, whether it's personal, whether it's work. And then my final one that I have is creating an environment for action to happen. And so if you want to do something, making it as easy as possible to do that. So setting your environment up to be able to help you to do what you want to achieve. And also so you have everything that you need at your fingertips, because if you have to go and get everything out and then do it, then you're not going to do it. And a lot of people struggle in this area because they go, oh, well, I'll just do it. I just need to do it. And then they just don't do it. And so you need to build the environment so that it can happen and that it's really easy for you to achieve any goal. And so what I've been doing personally is to get myself moving, to just like generally go for a walk. I actually signed up for ClassPass, which has actually been quite a fun thing. And what I'm doing is I'm signing up for the classes ahead of time. I'm committing to myself and I'm saying yes to myself. And if you're at the start, one of my areas that I love is improv. And so I love to yes and myself and go, yes, I am going to do that, rather than just going, no, I'm not going to do that. No, thank you. I go, yes, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go do this class. I'm going to go try this other thing out. I'm going to be super terrible at it. And I'm just going to go try and do it. And so creating that environment to do it. Or another way that I love to do it is with my watercolors, I often leave them out. I close the little tin because I found out that if I leave them open, that's not creating the best environment because they get covered in dust. So I leave the tin out with my paper so that it's always there, or my sketchbook's always out so that I can just like do a quick sketch when I'm having a break at work or I'm at lunch. I just take a quick moment to do a terrible sketch. So I'm just constantly practicing. And so thinking about what you could do to encourage yourself to be able to go and work towards those goals, like what are some of the actions that you could take? And I'd love if you shared in the chat as well, like what are some of these things that you could do and work towards? And so what I've been doing is applying these 3 points. And despite the rain, I've been really being able to get outside, be active. And in the past, I really used to struggle with motivation. I used to kind of sit in a coma and be like, oh no, I can't do that. This is exhausting. I don't want to do that. Whereas now I'm much more proactive and I'm able to get out of that coma and be able to move and be more proactive rather than reactive. And I'd love if you do apply any of these tips to let me know. And I've been also applying these in my role as a designer and also just personally. And I find it works really well because you can use them for anything. And motivation is often like a roller coaster. You need to kind of experiment with what works for you, what's working, what's not working. And then also you need to experiment to make it unique to you as well. Like not everything's going to work. And so remember the 3 things that I've got, which is give yourself a countdown to launch, be okay with small actions, and then create an environment for action. And so my area is design, although I'm also happy to really talk about motivation and how you can apply it. And I'd love it if you also wanted to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm Sarah Heimeyer. You can have a little Google, find me on LinkedIn, and just let me know any of the thoughts that you have. Are you going to give any of the steps a go, or even share it in the chat as well? Because when you do kind of apply these three tips, I find you'll get the ball rolling, the momentum going, and you'll be able to feel inspired, creative, and motivated to work towards and achieve your goals. So it's my quick little talk. Thank you so much. I'm going to hand it over to Chris now.
Yeah. While you're handing it over, and then thank you so much, Sarah. And then Chris, we are at the 45-minute mark. So if we're able to just a little more streamlined so we can get to some audience questions, that'd be awesome. Oh, you're on mute.
That always hides. Thank you, Sarah, for sharing some of those tips on how to stay motivated. I'm going to give some quick updates on how to stay inspired, and I'll share a link to an article I'd kind of written about this in UX Collective a while back. That sort of recapsulates this. So again, I'm Chris Becker. I'm a lead UX designer at Better. I'm also an educator here in Los Angeles. I've also written a book called Learn About Human-Computer Interaction. And what I sort of work on is a rewards program for app, but whatever, you don't really care about that kind of stuff. But one of the things that I think is important about inspiration and motivation is they sort of lead to each other. If you are inspired, if you spend some time getting inspired, it leads to you to be motivated, and then your motivation leads to you go get inspired. And so if you're familiar with the ladder of inference, this is sort of some steps that you as a learner and as a person who takes in data do to reflect. And so if you capture things and you take actions, it sort of ramps up the ladder. And part of the reflective loop is the more you change the things that you consume, the more it leads to changing your actions. And so some of the ways to do that, which is one of my favorite quotes in Pablo Picasso, is inspiration exists, but it must find you working. And this, I think, really speaks to this idea that you can't just sit around waiting to be inspired. It's not going to happen to you like lightning. You have to actually be in the process of making or doing things all the time. And part of that leads to this 2 cycles of inspiration. One is an active and one is a passive. And so we kind of think of inspiration as I have to consume other people's ideas. And that's the passive inspiration cycle. I look at other stuff. I go to museums. I go out in the world, or I look at other designers on Dribbble or on the internet, or all these cool things that other designers are making. But you also then have to make stuff. And making is a cycle of kind of being inspired of what you want to do and then looking into the world to make that. And it cycles until you are endlessly into your end. And so really the inspirations, there's some strategies. One, you got to make some stuff. Make it easy to make things, right? Sarah's talking about putting things in your environment to be motivated to make. Her drawings, pencils are there, or she has things that are at her fingertips to touch and make stuff. But when you're making things, it has a feedback loop. Did I do it right? Am I seeing what other things are doing that? You can then also consume other stuff. Look at applications, look at software, look at all the things that are kind of out there in the world. And then there's the stuff that just allows you to say, I can't get all my motivation from behind a screen. Maybe I should go out in the world. And so that's this idea of walking, allowing your subconscious to do some of the work, getting out of your comfort zone, and kind of relating that to find and to start designing with intention. Now, these inspiration strategies are sort of yeah, of course, you got to get out there, but the more diverse set of strategies you use to be inspired have more connective tissue back to relying or making things that you didn't know you would make. And so the key really is practice. You just have to keep practicing. You practice making, you practice writing, you practice presenting, and then you can practice testing. And part of that practice cycle is about feeding back into your own inspiration, but then also allowing you to be inspired by the process in itself. And one of the challenges as designers is that we sort of look at inspiration from the past, but we also sort of spend some time maybe at that crux between like what is the future and what is the past, and our inspiration sort of has to kind of come motivated by those things. And as we spend time in them, we can sort of look deep in the future and say, well, how am I going to change that, or where is the trajectory of that technology, or where does that stuff go? And that inspiration cycle allows us to make in that speculative nature. So if you want to know more about this, again, there's a link in the stack. I'll be sending out this Figma link as well for you guys to check out. And then I also have a book if you're interested in checking that out as well. I'll put those in the Slack channel. And we left 10 minutes for Q&A.
Wonderful. And yeah, someone had asked if the slides will be available, and I was like, we'll ask. And then you answered the question. And the recording will also be available on YouTube as well, and the FigJam board. So thank you so much. With that, let's jump into some questions. So the first one is, how do you balance resting for burnout versus pushing through when you're not motivated? Kind of creating that balance between, like, you need to be like striving and going for it, but also there's a time and place for rest and peace and balance. How do you find that? Chris first.
It's a great question. The reflective loop, like, you have to sort of pay attention to yourself, because you can't be inspired if you're always like burning the candle at both ends. Like, there's obviously like I've seen this with students all the time. I'm like, you need to get some rest to let your brain work on what you're inspired about. You need to find something that allows you to do that, and you can't just stare at the problem endlessly. That will not help you. You need to kind of remove yourself from it, set it aside, go work on something else, and then come back to it. And that sort of cycle allows you to not just get burned out on an idea, or you sort of need to find a way to have some distance. I've always found that it's like, go for a walk, or like go set it aside for an afternoon and then come back to it again. And just because hammering your head against the problem sometimes isn't the best strategy.
I like that. Sarah, would you like to chime in on this too?
Yeah, mine's
you've had to find that balance for yourself.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, mine's the same process. I very much, if I'm feeling like tired or something like that, then I don't feel like you should force yourself into doing stuff. Like there's different types of tired. Like there's, I'm not really feeling like it, or it's like I'm literally, like you said, like I'm feeling more burnt out. And so those are the times where I just like to basically have a little rest. And then I always find if I'm doing something that I really enjoy and like taking that break, that's usually when I solve the problem. It's not going to come to me where I'm sitting there just forcing myself to come up with a solution. Whereas if I take a break, do something else, do something that I find joy in, or just rest my brain generally, then I find that I'm able to actually work towards solving something or doing something else, because I've given myself that leeway and that kindness to be able to work towards some of the more challenging areas.
That's so helpful to hear too, of just if you're stuck on something, you really kind of have to take yourself out, like pull yourself out of the focus and do something else too, that it gives you a break mentally, emotionally, and stepping away and then coming back as well. So even though you may have a lot on your plate, a lot of to-dos and priorities, you also have to be kind to yourself. And like, even if you gotta leverage your calendar, schedule in those breaks, do something completely different. And that really helps with sustaining yourself as well. And you can see that reducing the chances of burnout later on, because we're not robots. Okay, the next question. So I think we've all heard in the news, there's a lot of layoff waves from different companies, and that's all affecting us in different ways. So this question is, how do you stay creative and motivated when there is this specific kind of heaviness in the world? Sarah, would you like to start first on that one?
Yeah. If you're in my breakout room, you'd notice that I love making jokes. Especially just like playing around and having fun. So that's usually my key element, is to have fun and to try and do activities that are really fun. So I do, I haven't done stand up recently, but I used to do like a bunch of like stand-up and stuff like that before like the COVID times, the before times. Whereas more recently I've been getting more into like improv and just having fun and creating characters, doing voices and just enjoying myself, or just like taking time to just relax and have fun and just not take things too seriously, to be able to not feel that pressure and having that time to not be overwhelmed by all of the things going on in the world. And also just one of my extra fun tips is just to play with dogs, because like dogs just bring happiness, they equal joy.
That's
as
the
well.
ultimate like life cheat code, is find
Yeah.
yourself the nearest dog.
Yes, literally go to a dog park is the cheat code.
Yeah,
That's one
my
thing.
older brother has his dog is a service animal for like helping people at hospitals and stuff. It's really quite adorable. Yeah, I think Sarah makes a good point. Like you gotta, the challenge is there's lots of change. Change is the only thing we know to be true. But that may even be motivation to say like, oh, well, there's a lot more competition in the world. So what should I do at which to stay competitive in there? Like that means giving yourself a task to learn some stuff, but don't only focus on the outcome of that being negative. It's like, you can't focus your whole day on just finding a job. You need to like go to a movie, like time box it. So you have a moment at which to focus on that thing. And then you have a moment at which to sort of like have a release or kind of figure out that you haven't been able to do that, because the strategies there is the sort of like, you have to kind of figure out some ways to sort of give yourself a break, but then also like lean on your community. That you have other friends that are going through the same thing, that places here, talk to people about like what you could be doing differently if it's not working. There's lots of kind of opportunities to kind of do that. And then like, yeah, go and be in a quiet space in nature. It always helps when things get really crazy. It's what
I love that. So identifying those moments or those activities that already give you a sense of happiness or at least peace, making sure you have boundaries to be able to experience that as well, and acknowledging, like, as you said, there's going to be change in the world. But on the flip side as well, is like some humor, some levity also can be very relevant and very helpful and what you call it, therapeutic, to be able to process that as well. And part of that long-term process of just like ensuring that you are sustained, you're weathering the difficult changes that may be happening to you either personally or out in the world. Okay, for this next question, I'll ask it to Chris. Related to the last one, how do you stay motivated when you are competing with the big tech layoffs? So this person, I assume, are like, all right, I'm interviewing, or I'm hoping to land a job, and then they're sustaining themselves, but then there's this like massive shift in the job market too, and they may be feeling a little like lost at sea of like, how is this going to impact me? How do I navigate this? Because it's not the usual kind of industry shift that you see. It's a lot at one time.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were talking about like the before times, like the pandemics or this massive shift and these things of like, okay, we have to like learn a new skill. We all have to figure out how to work remotely. We all have to like designers in particular are like uniquely adept at managing change, because we are change agents in the places we work. And so applying that same logic back to like what you can, like who you're competing with, or like it is disheartening to see like those like tables of like air tables of just like hundreds of product designers that are now like out on the market because like, you know, Facebook drops 11% of their market or whatever. That has forces that you have no control over. What you do have control over is like looking for places that are underserved, getting your skills into a place where you can sort of compete with that, meeting other designers who are like looking for the same roles or trying to do that. Just endlessly sending your resume out through the like resume spaces is sometimes not the best strategy. There's lots of gates and gatekeepers in that scenario. So you sort of have to double down on the things that you sort of know you can do, and then and also just like it will come back up. Some of those layoffs, I think, are incredibly short-sighted in the world that we sort of operate in. And if you sort of whatever shore up that or see where there's new opportunities, you can kind of go make that. So, but it's, I don't want to, I don't, it is disheartening. We all sort of have to worry about it at some level, but like, and just go make some stuff, right? Like, it's like, don't allow that to just like deter you from learning new things or making interesting stuff, or like encouraging that kind of extension of what you already are trying to go do in the world. So
that's awesome. Like, still heading in the direction that you want to, just weathering the storm. I like that you also I specified that of understanding where you as a singular person, you do not have control over these external forces that are happening around you too. So but then you still have a lot of autonomy of like how you process it and how you take action on it that works best for you. And at the other point that I love that you brought up is like, whenever these times of change, not just in our industry, but like any industry in the world, that's when there's opportunities for creativity and for new opportunities, right? When there's this big shift, you don't always have to follow precedent of like, if it's job search, going for the same companies or the same type of opportunities. There are now new areas that are surfacing up that still require our talent that may not be talked about as often as well. So that is a very motivating thing to look at. Okay, there's big change happened. What new ideas and opportunities are coming up that interest me, or I can utilize or look into, and it can guide my career direction in a way that I didn't think about as well. So it's not all doom and gloom when a big shift happens. It's also when innovation takes place too. Okay. Let's see, I think we have time for one more. I would like to ask, to Sarah, how do you keep the drive to push through when you don't get enough or any feedback on your work? So sometimes we need that feedback or that input to be able to iterate and be able to change and improve. But what happens when you're not getting that type of feedback from either person, the world, peers? How do you kind of find that feedback you need in order to change?
I find because I went through a time where I wasn't getting as much feedback as I was hoping, and I realized that I was being very general with my like requests for feedback. And so people often, and it's the same with like, say when you run a workshop or something, if you're not very specific as to what you're looking for or what you're doing, or the same with like getting a design brief, like making sure that you're like, oh, I'm really wanting to improve in this area, or I'm really looking for feedback here. And so kind of guiding that in terms of, this is the area that I'm really wanting to improve on, and letting people know that you're welcoming and open to feedback is also one of those things. Because often people go like, oh, like, should I be giving feedback? Should I be doing this? And so then they don't want to kind of do that step forward and give feedback in certain areas. And so letting them know that you are, and being humble in terms of that, and vulnerable as well. And even if it's someone that might not be like in the industry or anything like that, like always asking for different areas of feedback as well, I always find is really helpful. And if you aren't getting the feedback that you are looking for, other ways that I've gone about it is to just basically looking out into the world and seeing what are other people doing, and how can I apply that to me? Or even if it's in a different industry, looking at like, how can I take that way of thinking or way of looking and apply that to myself, to try and evolve and change and look at different ways of applying it. Because I've often taken areas from like other hobbies and then applied it to my own practice. Like I have a bunch of like, from how I do drawing and stuff like that, I use that in how I do design. I know they're both creative fields, but like the openness to fail and working on stuff, I often take that and the process that I use to be able to evolve and create my own feedback.
I love that. So the specificity of the ask, right? Of like, I need this type of feedback, not just general, can you give me feedback? And that makes it easier for the other person to respond, because the ask is clear. Okay, this person needs this, I can provide it for them. And now you're setting a pattern for future feedback loops with that person or with other people. And the other that you mentioned, I love it, is being okay with being vulnerable, but also I'd like to add practicing that kind of separation between you as a person and this thing that you created as well. Like your intrinsic value is not tied to the thing. It's just one tiny aspect of you too. And you need feedback in order to improve as well. So it's being able to practice that kind of mental boundary when you are asking for feedback, I think will help with you asking for more feedback and additional feedback and more specific feedback too. Awesome. With that, I hate to say it, but we're wrapping up our event. I know we're a few minutes over. Thank you so much for those who stuck around a little bit. So if you'd like to connect with Sarah and Chris even more, we've dropped their different links, social media links, and profiles in the chat, so you can connect with them and continue the conversation. And with that, I mean, it's always awkward to end this too, because it's like we're in such a good discussion that I'm like, it's time. Thank you so much for I want everyone to like say thank you to Sarah and Chris for sharing so much of their insights, guiding us through a very awesome but hectic workshop with a lot of people. I hope everyone references that FigJam too, because not just on your own motivations that you share, but also on others and how much you probably relate and can connect with people based off of that too, and carry that lesson forward into your own journey and your own challenges that you're trying to overcome. Okay, thank you so much. So what's going to happen now is that Chris, Sarah, and I are essentially kind of standing at the door and waving you goodbye as you enter back into your own world. If it's morning, I hope you have a lovely morning. If it's night or late night, thank you so much for staying up with us, and we hope to see you in our next session. I say this every time. It's like, I wish we have goodbye music to play. It's a little
yeah, thank you everyone. It was really fun. I'm glad.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. And then speakers and organizers, we're just gonna stick around and do a little retro afterwards when everyone heads out.
Yeah, we'll go if everyone to trickle out, and yeah.
That's awesome.
You can also create a breakout room and just like, go to the breakout room, have a debrief, and yeah. Okay.
That works.
I will just, how do I do this? Awesome. So Sarah, you can join the breakout room and I'll see you there.
The thing left the screen. Oh yeah, now I can do it.
There you are. Okay. Thanks so much, everyone. We'll see you next time.